Hello, how to play softball. Which body systems are interacting? So, the teak, I would describe the interaction that happens among systems when we're performing, right, functions of regulation, nutrient absorption, reproduction, and defense from injury or illness in animals by creating an educational video to show you how to play softball and highlighting the interactions of the body systems. My name is Mrs. Mason. Hello, how are you out there? I've chosen the endocrine system, and the endocrine system is just a network of glands, all right? And what they do is these glands they secrete special hormones, all right? And remember we talked about hormones are chemical messengers, and they're transported in the bloodstream to targeted cells where they are needed. The main function of the endocrine system is to maintain homeostasis, make sure that we have a stable environment, right? The hormones also help to regulate growth. It also helps to regulate sexual development, male and female libido. It also helps metabolize chemical processes in the body. It maintains the sugar level, salt level. Can't have too much salt, can't have too much sugar, can't have too much water, right? So these hormones are going to make sure that our body temperature is at a set temperature and they are maintained, right? Again, definition, hormones, chemical compounds that are secreted, and secreted just means released from these glands. And we're going to take a look at a few of these glands. Hypothalamus gland, you might have heard of that one before, all right, up in your brain. The pituitary gland is also up in your brain. I can't talk. Parathyroid, thymus, adrenals, right? And you might be familiar with that adrenaline hormone, and we talked about this before. The adrenaline flight or fight hormone that helps when you're in a stressful situation. Pancreas, right? That's the one that helps to produce the insulin. Ovary with our estrogen and our progesterone, and testosterone for the testes that are found in males. So I just want to take a minute. I want you to pause for 1 second and let's read this question. The diagram below shows how a chemical message, oh, remember we said that's a hormone, produced by one cell is received by other cells. If these hormones are destroyed, then what will happen to the target cell if that chemical message is not delivered? Well, hopefully you picked option 2. All right. It will not respond with appropriate actions because it did not get the chemical message, like for example, in growth hormone. It didn't get the growth hormone to tell a child that it needs to grow. So the child growth will be stunted or delayed. Levels of organization. When we talk about levels of organization, we're talking about the basic unit of life is a cell, right? That's the very basic. And then we're going to keep increasing so cells get together and form tissue. Tissue get together and form an organ. Organs get together and form organ systems. And when you put all 11 of your organ systems together, then we have an organism, right? But what does the endocrine system have to do with softball, right? I want you to think about playing softball. You're in a game, and softball is for girls, baseball is for boys. So playing softball is something that I did when I was in high school. And I remember being nervous, right, when it was my turn to bat. Which one of these glands do you think was secreting a hormone? Well, I was quite nervous, right? But I wasn't scared. But it helped me respond to a stressful situation because bases were loaded and I had to make sure I knocked this ball out the park. And you know I did. Well, that would be the adrenal gland, right? Which secretes adrenaline, right? And then you have some other glands and it tell you what it regulates, what's its function, all right? Now, the goal of softball is to hit the ball right? When the pitcher throws it to you and you hit the ball far enough where any guy that you have or any man or lady that you have on bases could come on home. The more people that crosses the plate is a score, right? And they're scored one run at a time, right? So the team who have the most runs, of course, they win. Now I want you to look at the silhouette of these pictures. And do you think that the adrenaline gland is the only gland that is working? Hmm, no. We can look at this and see that we have some other systems that are involved. What are these other systems, all right? So we know that we have 11 systems, and the reproductive system is the one that's down there and is cut off. Well, we know that for us playing softball, we definitely have to use the skeletal system, right? So we have to use the skeletal system, the muscular system. Nervous system is pretty much in everything, all right? And I'm just going to check off the ones I called out. Skeletal system, muscular system, nervous system, and of course, the one that I'm talking about is the endocrine system that's secreting a hormone, right? So the muscular system and the skeletal system, they really work hand in hand, right? Those tendons, those ligaments, and they help to move the skeleton to help me run when I played. The nervous system is the one who received the command that I was under some type of stress, and it sent the command, right, for that gland to secrete the adrenal hormone, right? Um, and of course, I was running, so that played a role in it as well because I had to breathe. So it played the role in the respiratory system, getting the oxygen in and releasing the carbon dioxide as I ran around the bases, right? So here I have all my systems that are interacting, right? Definitely the circulatory system because it has to circulate, right, the hormone, right? It is transported through the blood. So it is circulating that hormone to the targeted cells and also that oxygen in circulate, getting that carbon dioxide in. And we talked about the skeletal and muscular system supporting each other. They really work hand in hand. And me running and having to breathe. And the nervous system is almost in everything, and sometimes it's not always mentioned because it is given. So, what are some diseases of the endocrine system? Some of the diseases, diabetes, which I'm sure you all heard of, and that's just when the pancreas cannot secrete insulin. Hypoglycemia is that's the low blood sugar. Oh, it's low blood sugar, whereas diabetes is high blood sugar. Then we have Graves' disease, which is the overreactive thyroid. And I stuck a picture here because most people with Graves' disease, right, it's an autoimmune disease that causes an overreactive thyroid. And most times you see those people have bulging eyes, their eyelids retract, and their eyes are red. All right. We also have Goddard, which is the enlarged thyroid gland that sits in the neck. And a lot of times people that have this disease, their necks are really enlarged, right? So if you Google and look up pictures, you will definitely see some examples of what I'm talking about. All right, so we have thyroid dysfunctions. We have hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, right? So one is overreactive and the other one is underreactive, right? And here's some examples of the symptoms of that, right? So, how do we repair the endocrine system? What do we do? Well, most times you'll go see an endocrinologist, and that's just a specialist who specializes in hormones. They will put you on a treatment plan, um, give you synthetic hormone for our people with diabetes, and that's what they're using, the insulin injections. They give you medication and put you on sometimes even herbal treatments and a diet that helps to produce a more productive endocrine system. But what about feedback mechanisms? Feedback mechanisms is something that you must know, right? There are two types of feedback mechanisms. They're going to be negative or positive. The negative feedback mechanism is just kind of like opposite, right? So if I increase, the negative feedback mechanism is going to make a decrease. If I go left, it goes right. And it brings us back to this homeostasis, this balance, if you may. All right. So when we're talking about diabetes, you eat glucose, and it's definitely going to increase your blood sugar. Everyone who eats food, the blood sugar increases. So once it's increased, right, it is detected by receptors that notify the brain. And it sends a message to the pancreas. And the message is, hey, pancreas, you need to produce some insulin. Here's a picture of a pancreas, what it looks like. So once the insulin, right, cells is secreted by the pancreas, then the insulin tells the muscle and liver to take up the glucose from the bloodstream. So it's taking up all this C6H12O6 because we need to reduce the blood sugar. Once it's picked up, the blood glucose level will drop, right, as it is removed by those cells, and then the pancreas is signaled to stop making insulin because now we're back at homeostasis. This is an example of negative feedback. Well, what is positive feedback? All right. Make sure you know insulin and glucagon, right? Make sure you know the difference between these two. Oh, look, a positive feedback. Positive feedback is not like negative feedback, right? Positive feedback will go, 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 go. And you'll see it in childbirth or if you cut yourself. All right. So in childbirth, if you follow me through the steps, number one, we have the head of the fetus, which is pushing on the cervix. Here's the cervix. So the baby has to come through this canal. I know, ouch, right? But the body is so amazing because the nerve impulses from the cervix is transmitted to the brain. And then the brain is going to stimulate the pituitary gland and tell it, hey, I need you to secrete oxytocin, which is a hormone. Oxytocin is carried to the bloodstream to the uterus. And then the oxytocin stimulates uterine contraction, right? You have no control over these uterine contractions. And it just say, hey, more, 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 more oxytocin, keep going, keep going, keep going, because we need to get this baby out, right? And the body is going to keep secreting, secreting, secreting until finally, wah, you get this baby and mama can relax, right? So positive feedback is in case of emergencies, we need to go all the way from homeostasis because we need to get to the end, all right? So some common hormones, right? Progesterone, adrenaline, testosterone, cortisol, estrogen, insulin. All right, just to name a few. See if you can click on some and see what they're connected to, right? Hopefully you know what adrenaline hormone is coming from, the adrenal gland, all right? What it acts on and what it does. I want you to come back, make sure you read this, all right? And I'm gonna move my camera again so you can see my face. Progesterone, where it comes from the ovary, right? It happens when the egg is released, all right? And it acts in the uterus. And what it does, controls menstruation in women and plays a role in pregnancy, right? Thyroxine is the thyroid gland. Most cells of the body is where it acts, controls the rate of metabolic processes. And testosterone is for the guys. It happens in the testicles, right? Where it acts body hair cells, muscle, reproductive structures, stimulates development of male sexual characteristics, and other things. Estrogen, ovary, breast tissue, reproductive structures in female, and what it does, stimulates development of female libido. Cortisol, all right, it happens in multiple tissues, outer part of the adrenal gland, right? It is the stress hormone, all right? So try not to stress too much. And then insulin, we talked about insulin is produced in the pancreas. So I want you to quiz yourself. Can you answer these questions? All right, what are hormones? How do hormones work? Name some hormones, which I just told you. All right, name 5 endocrine glands. We also talked about that. And what are the functions of the endocrine system? Right? At what times in your life do you think endocrine system is most active? Teenagers, you're really wild and hormonal, right? And also women, when it's that time of the month, women can be a bit hormonal, all right? Hormones are your endocrine system, hormones of life. A fun fact, it is quite surprising to note that the term hormone could not be coined until early 1900s. All right, I hope you enjoyed how to play softball and which body systems interacted. All right, And I'll see you next time. Again, Mrs. Mason. Bye.